Well, the Short Kings stole the strike zone. Shohei Ohtani looks unhittable in his first outing this week, and in baseball's newest edge is changing the game in real time.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heater low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. What's up? This is Brett Chanty with Back to the Bullpen. Mike Stan and I bringing you a good show tonight, but tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. During the tournament, FanDuel is offering $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. Well, the Major League Baseball season continues to roll on. We start to steamroll into the second week of baseball. A lot of stuff has happened. Mike, welcome in. Shohei Ohtani's back on the mound. We're going to talk about some things tonight, but how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. And yeah, we are, we're rocking and rolling in baseball now. I mean, once you, it's kind of crazy. There's always this build up to opening day. And then there's no let up for 6 months. I mean, we have a little break for the All-Star game, for the All-Star
unrelenting, unabashed,
it's
wall to wall.
And it's every day, and that's why we're here, is to talk about these issues. And right now I think we do need to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani had his first start of the season. This was yesterday, and he came as advertised. Gave up one hit, no runs through 6 innings. Was just really on top of his game. And the thing is, we haven't seen Shohei because he didn't pitch in the WBC. All he did.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and what was funny was when he came off the mound in the first inning, they immediately go from the field to hitting. Well, guess who's leading off? Shohei Ohtani.
Right.
And he was just casually strolling into the dugout after the glove check and then was like, oh my gosh. And he ran over to get his helmet. And if that isn't like Little League, you know what I'm saying? Because growing up, you would see the leadoff hitter was probably the starting pitcher, because the starting pitcher was either the coach's son, or if he was the coach's son, he was the best player on the team.
Right.
Right. I just thought that was a little reminiscent of my, me coaching my son in Little League. But six scoreless innings, 87 pitches. He touched 99.2 miles per hour. He averaged nearly 97. I mean 96.8. So we're going to call that 97 in pitcher talk. And hitters didn't really reach base that much, but it was a complete performance, whether it was command of pace or efficiency. It's a kind of debut that the Dodgers want to see out of Shohei Ohtani. Now, my question to you is this, Mike, is this the kind of guy that you are going to make sure that he makes every single start, or are there going to be times throughout the season that you want him to skip some starts because you want to keep him healthy all season long?
No, I don't think there's any doubt this guy is not making 30 starts. If he does make 30, that's going to be the top number. I mean, it's not going to be 31. It's not going to be 32, but I don't think he makes 30 starts. And the reason I say that is because that's really, even if Shohei Ohtani had been completely healthy in his career, that's not how the Dodgers do it. The Dodgers want these guys, they have all but said that they're really not that worried about the regular season. That, this is the team odds-on favorite to win the World Series, and they want their dudes healthy down the stretch in September in case those are meaningful games, and in October. So, yeah, I don't think that he makes 30 starts. I think he'd probably be around 25 starts, somewhere in there. But he throws the ball like this. I mean, it's just just another ho-hum start for the Dodgers starting pitching, because they have outstanding starting pitching, and Shohei is a big part of that.
Right, exactly. So he goes out, pitches on the 31st, and then on the 1st of April, Yamamoto goes out there, and Yamamoto doesn't get the win.
Yeah, he got beat. The Guardians, who the Dodgers beat the Guardians with Shohei Ohtani on the mound, and then they end up losing to the Guardians 4-1 with Yamamoto on the ground on the mound. So Yamamoto is actually 1-1 on the season. Didn't pitch terrible, but just not a whole lot of offense coming out of that Dodgers lineup.
A lot of these frontline pitchers, and we'll get to some of the other guys that pitched on April Fool's Day. They didn't get a ton of strikeouts. And, I don't know if it's just because it's early on in the season, but when you talk about ace level performances or Cy Young winning or Cy Young nominated type pitchers, you think 7 to 10 strikeouts. You think strong performances. You also think wins and losses. Is there a chance that someone like a Shohei Ohtani can win the Cy Young, or will he just not have a big enough resume to go up against the guys that are going to be the finalists?
There's two ways. Really, there's not two ways anymore. There used to be two ways to win a Cy Young, which one was, you go back in the day, was win a whole bunch of games. I mean, just blow the league away in wins. I can't remember who the pitcher was. The A's had, back in the 90s, I believe, had a pitcher win Cy Young. He won like 24 games. Now, he had an ERA of 4, but he went like 24-3. Something crazy like that. So that's not going to happen anymore, just simply because pitchers just don't pitch enough innings to have that many, to get that many wins. There's just too many outs that the bullpen has to cover. So if Shohei was going to win the Cy Young this year with less than 30 starts, he better be very, very good. And he was. I mean, he had 6 strikeouts in the 6 innings. He did walk 3, 1 hit, so 4 base runners in those 6 innings. But he threw a shutout. He threw 6 shutout innings. So he continues to do that. I mean, he's always going to be in the conversation for MVP because of what he does, both pitching-wise and offensively. But, pitching-wise, if he's going to win the Cy Young with fewer starts, that means there just has to be a higher quality than quantity.
So the guy you're talking about is actually Bob Welch. And you shorted him a few wins, Mike.
He had 27, didn't he?
27 wins, 6 losses, 127 strikeouts, 238 innings. But okay, so I want to kind of
ERA?
His ERA was 2.95. Now,
so he pitched better than I thought he did. Okay.
So here's the deal. This Bob Welch had a stretch of 6 straight seasons where he threw between 209 and 251 innings. I mean, this guy threw 3,000 innings in his 17-year career. But
that's not unheard of. There was a lot of guys that did that. No. That's what starting pitchers did back then. What year was that?
Well, so the 27 wins was 1990.
Okay. Yeah, that was right at the beginning of my career.
Yeah, this guy pitched. Bob Welch pitched from 1978 to 1994. Mm-hmm. Wow. Obviously you're not going to see that. And since we're kind of on this topic, before we go into our next segment, Cy Youngs aren't so much dependent on wins and losses anymore.
Hardly at all.
As much. Right.
I mean, that is not one of the criteria that you need to be. Now, if you win a bunch of games, it helps. But they look at a lot. They being the baseball writers, that's who actually picks the Cy Young. They look a lot deeper into the other numbers. Even ERA. ERA is important, but they love strikeouts. Okay. So there's many other categories that come into play when, back in the day, and that year, that 1990 Bob Welch, 27-6, which is amazing, has an ERA just shy of 3. He probably wasn't anywhere close to the best ERA in the league.
What's amazing?
27 wins. I mean, what are you going to do? 27 wins. That's incredible.
Right. What's amazing is back in 2019, when Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander were on the same team. They were both on the Astros. They both won. Justin Verlander 21, Garrett Cole 20 is one of the tighter races when it comes to Verlander received 17 first place votes, Garrett Cole 13. Jacob deGrom got 29 of the 30 votes. He only won 11 games that year.
Yeah.
So that
but
really
look at his peripheral numbers, hits per 9, walks per 9, strikeouts per 9. Those are all the numbers that they look at because we're going to talk about a guy here in just a little bit later in the podcast here that got a loss tonight but pitched very, very well. We'll get to that in a minute, but you're just, starting pitchers, unless you throw a shutout, you're just not in charge whether you get a win or not.
Yeah, that's true. And what we're going to do is up next, we're going to talk about some umpires, former umpires speaking out about the ABS. And that's slowly going to morph into not just the short kings of baseball, but let's call them the shorter kings of baseball next. All right. Thank you all for tuning in to Locked On. Thank you for tuning in to the Locked On Network. This is Back to the Bullpen, and we want to tell you about our friends at Indeed. Indeed, you should look into them, especially if the deadlines are stacking up, the workplace chaos is going off, and the one position you still need to fill is open. Well, when the pressure's on and you need to make the right hire, it's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Why? Because it helps you reach the people that actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, the experience, the location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show, check this out. You will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And as well, we bring you to the message, there is something I've got for you, okay? We know baseball is finally back, and why not celebrate by doing this? I am going to give you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. That's right. Just go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and use the code FINALLY to unlock every episode ad-free. Get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use the code FINALLY to claim your free month today. So we teased it a little bit talking about, we've talked about the ABS system, Mike. We've talked about what's going on, but what was interesting was a recent article in The Athletic talking about former umpires and what they have to say about the ABS, because if you're a former umpire, you didn't have to deal with this. You get to sit in the chair at the donut shop and go, we just called it on our day, and we knew when we missed it. We knew when we screwed up, but nobody could call us on it because we didn't have a accountability system like that.
Well, I think the question has to be asked, well, why didn't they just go to the umpires that are current, that are active in Major League Baseball and ask them these questions? Well, the reason is because you can't do that. That's kind of against the rules. I think you have to go through their union, and it's like a big ordeal, and they're not going to say anything about it anyways. And so in this article, guys like Joe West, had something to say, and you know what? It's it's what you would expect them to say, which is, it's it's putting a little bit too much heat on these guys that, this job isn't that easy, which I agree with that wholeheartedly. And there was real question about the accuracy of these calls, that you're talking about. There was one call in the Astros game the other day that there was I think the call was overturned, that it was a third of an inch off the corner. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, that's pretty specific. And did it actually touch the strike zone? Well, the ABS system said it did not, but they were really questioning the accuracy. And to tell you the truth, is it accurate? I don't know how accurate it is. There's also a question of where is the measurement taken. And in this article, it actually talks about taking a two-dimensional picture in the middle of the plate, not the front of the plate, not the back of the plate, but the middle of the plate. When in reality, the home plate is a three-dimensional, it's three-dimensional position. It's not just the five sides of the plate. It's also, a cylinder that goes up that covers the whole strike zone. So, we're getting rather technical with this, but what I've taken from the ABS system more than anything else is the fans have just gone freaking nuts for it. I mean, some of the loudest cheers have been. Go ahead.
I'm saying, that's really what it's about when it comes down to it, Mike. I mean, those are the people who go through the gates. Those are the people that buy the jerseys. Those are the people that when you sign that $150 million player, $500 million player, they're the ones that support you. And it actually makes baseball a little bit more interactive and a little bit more fun because, you get to steal, even if it's called a ball and the team you're not cheering for walks, you can at least yell, you still could have at least swung at it. That was a hittable pitch,
Right. Right.
So
well,
there's
that. But I think the fans' reaction, we put so much into this. All of the media, all of the industry has put so much into this, and it's so new that listen, in a month, are we going to be getting the same reactions? Not every time. But some of the loudest cheers you're getting in some of these games is actually when, the call is confirmed or the call is overturned for the home team and the people go nuts. And I actually, in a way, I kind of like it. I understand how it's really not that fair to the umpires. Guys throwing 102 miles an hour and he misses a pitch a half an inch off the plate. And then he's got people yelling at him, and that people want to ask questions and all that. Listen, what it's really shown is these guys are pretty stinking good at what they do.
I saw one, and I cannot remember the exact game, and I do know the umpire's name, but I'm not going to throw that out there. But there was a call the other day. The pitch was right down the middle.
Yeah,
and the umpire called it a ball, and I was like, that was a really
and that's what the system is really truly made for.
Right.
Is for the blatant miss. But you know what? You talk to managers about any situation, whether it was, the running lanes for catchers back with the Buster Posey rule. You can't take out the same thing at second base. You can't take out base runner. You can't take out the position player, coming across the bag. Now you have to stay on the bag, all that kind of stuff. What's the first thing that any manager or any team does? We're going to try and figure out a way to manipulate this. And, the system isn't really for, is that pitch a half an inch off or is it half an inch on, what it is. But that's what this is coming down to. And it really shows how good of an eye the umpires have. It also shows how good of an eye these hitters have.
Right. We talked about CB Buckner the other day.
But he's not the worst one.
No, he's
there
not.
Was one, and I don't know what the game was. There was a game on Sunday that there were actually 10 challenges and 7 were overturned.
Wow.
So CB wasn't even the worst one of the week.
Right. Well, now CB, I don't know if you saw his other call that he's kind of been scrutinized over. It was a runner running to first base, and he was backed up off the base, and he touched the middle of the base, and CB Buckner called him out and said he didn't even touch the base. He said he even said he made a turn towards second, and he didn't. And I was like, either. Yeah, I believe it was a Brewers game, but I was just like, what are we doing here? I do have a quote from Joe West. He does say, I guess I'm old school because I believe that umpires have their specific little strike zones.
They do.
That may be an inch off here or an inch off there. But I think the biggest thing is the consistency of the guys behind the plate. So for Joe West, and what he's saying is you want an umpire to be consistent. Even if he's a little off, you want it to be called both ways. And we have seen that. Oh, if you've watched even one season of baseball, you will see where it tends to look like there's a call one inning, that's a ball. The same pitch thrown the next inning, it's a strike. And then the pitchers are like, I don't know where the hell to put the ball, because if I put it somewhere else, he may make up some call that doesn't make any sense. And so the consistency is really the key.
No doubt. And I think when they started back in the late 90s and early 2000s with the very first Quest Tech situation, and started trying to critique the umpires, when they they first put the box on the television, even though the box, it was just an arbitrary box. It wasn't really the strike zone. It just brought a lot of scrutiny to, the profession of umpires. But listen, back in the 90s, we had scouting reports on umpires just like we had on players. The guy that I always taught, and I thought was a very good umpire, was John Hirschbeck. John Hirschbeck was 3 inches off the outside corner. Lefty, righty, didn't matter. That was where he was going to call that a strike. But the pitch that was right under his nose, if it's not completely on the plate, he was not going to call that a strike. I knew it as a pitcher. The hitter knew it as a hitter, and you just dealt with it on that particular day. And he was very consistent with that. So that's really the key. When you're, when you're scattering the calls all over the place, one time it's a strike, one time it's not. That's the frustrating part of it. But
that's what gets Aaron Boone out of the dugout.
Sure. Even if Aaron Boone has no clue what he's arguing about, because he's got the worst view on the field to see a ball or strike. You know, if his players are complaining about it, he's going to go out there and he's going to dog cuss the umpire just simply because he's taking up for his players.
My guys are savages in the box.
Savages.
That's right.
I want to know how long he sat on that before he got to use it.
Oh, I know. Well, you know what? We're going to wrap up the show in our last segment talking about the shorter kings of baseball and, maybe look at a matchup or two to kind of look around the league to see what some of our aces are doing. What's up, everybody? I want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. Why? Because it's tournament time. The tournament is the best time of the year. The brackets, the buzzer beaters, the upsets, the nonstop action from tip-off to final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers an amazing deal and a way to stay in the action all tournament long. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. This means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want, game picks, futures, or even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. I mean, if you had Duke going to the final like I did and were shocked, look, it doesn't matter because you still have time. You still have bets that can be made with FanDuel through the tournament. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as brackets unfold or like mine collapse. So visit FanDuel.com today to join. Sign up. That's FanDuel.com. Get in the action. So, Mike, we kind of tease it a little bit. We talked in our last podcast how I was at one point in my life 5'11", and it's the tallest that I've ever been. I always tell people when I was younger, I
up to that point
prayed,
and since, right?
Right. Well, I literally prayed and asked God, can I be 6'4" and 250? That was about Mark McGuire's height and size profile. He was my guy.
And did God answer?
He answered half the prayer. It wasn't the 6'4" part. It wasn't the 6'4" part. So,
nice.
Yeah, he answered the 250. It took me quite a while to get there, but I've since left the 250 mark. So,
but you were dedicated to it.
Oh, I was heavyweight. I'm trying to get back to welterweight, man.
Right.
So this ABS is basically, it has created its own strike zone, and the strike zone, because it's per player, Aaron Judge, Jose Altuve, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Nick Allen. I mean, I'm just about random guys, random heights. You've got to have a strike zone that's a different size. And now you got to actually know what height they are.
Yeah. So that's where I always thought that where we're going to have the real issue once this gets, going in the season, a couple months down the road, it's going to be the height, especially the top of the strike zone, but the height of the strike zone. That's where corners, everybody's pretty good at corners, but and the crazy thing is, it's 53% of your height is the top of the strike zone, which it's supposed to be, rib cage, the bottom of your chest. I mean, this is going to be, just slightly above the belly button, slightly above the belt. And then I think it's the bottom is like 27% of your height is the bottom of the strike. I mean, that is very specific numbers.
It is.
And so there's no way umpires are going to know that. So what are they going to do height wise? They're going to call it and see what happens. And that's what they should do. I mean, you can't tell me that you have Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve in the same game, that where the top of the strike zone is for both of those guys.
So here is some of the numbers. 430 hitters on opening day rosters, 225 lost an inch, 48 lost 2 inches, and 6 lost 3 inches.
How about that? Yeah.
So they lost nearly 20 feet of total height. I mean, I don't know how many Jose Altuve's that is, but I think that's 3 Aaron Judges disappearing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. And, if you tell somebody the club that was shorted, pun intended, shorted the most was the 6-footer club. That there were a bunch of guys that were 6 foot, 6'1", that no, they're not. They're 5'10", they're 5'11". But if you went and said that to them in the off season, they're probably ready to fight. No, I'm 6 foot. It's kind of a machismo thing that, you're taller than you really are. But because of what this stands for, some of those hitters are like, you know what? Call me as short as you want to call me, because that's making my strike zone shorter. So it's actually goes in your favor.
That's right. Now, I delved into the dating world, a little bit these last couple years, and there's different versions. This to me is baseball's version of dating app hype.
Well, listen, we've all heard it over the years of, I heard a story today of a NBA player that was supposed to be a 7-footer. And a friend of mine, he goes up and he meets this guy, and he's never seen anybody that tall anyways. And he looks up at him and he goes, and the guy's only like 5'6", 5'7". He's a little, short guy. And he looks up and he goes, "Are you 7 foot?" And the guy goes, "Nah, I'm about 6'9", but they gave me 7 foot,
wow,
just to make it look better. Wrestlers are notorious for it. Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon was called a 7-footer, and we all know that he's between 6'10" and 6'11", not exactly 7 feet.
So that's only, that's only a little bit of a fudge.
So
when you're talking 3 inches, I mean, you're 6'1".
That's a lot.
No, you're 5'10".
Right. So, I mean, whether Jose Altuve is 5'6" or 5'4", that's still a small strike zone. But you got someone like You got someone like Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, these, Yordan Alvarez, who's 6'4", just these guys across the league that are tall. I mean,
right.
When you see some of these players up close, you realize how big these
are
guys
big dudes.
are.
These are big
this
dudes.
is not right. This is not, and so shorter guys mean smaller strike zone, which works. Now,
one thing you have to remember, this is also with the player standing straight up. It's not in his stance. You remember, you go back to Pete Rose, how he used to be really crouched down,
or even Jeff Bagwell.
Really, well, yeah. I mean, but Pete was actually folded at the waist. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was trying to get out of that high strike zone, which where he was, you threw the ball across his chin. That should have been called a strike because that's how much of a crouch he was in.
So Miguel Rojas said this, and I think he said it perfectly. He said now he has to learn his strike zone in a way that he's never had to before. Right. And I mean, it does kind of change things. And baseball can be a very, very technical sport. But does something like this, does it make it down to the lower leagues, or is it just like when you become a pro, this is a thing?
Well, they've been using the ABS in AAA for a couple seasons.
But are we going to see this in like college ball?
I don't.
Or maybe
you
not mess with
I think you may see it in college ball before you would see it in minor leagues, just because of the money thing. You got to remember, this is not a cheap system. I mean, this is an expensive system, so that's going to have a lot to do with it. I don't know. I don't know how far down this goes. We'll just have to wait and see. We did have our first challenge walk-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Baltimore beat Tampa on a strike 3. Well, actually, it was a ball called that turned into strike 3, so it was a walk-off challenge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hey, one of the things I want to talk about is we saw a pitcher's duel in the desert. The Arizona Diamondback, Zach Gallen versus the reigning 2-time back-to-back Cy Young champ, Tarik Skubal. And Tarik Skubal goes down 1-0, a solo shot to left center field by Corbin Carroll, an absolute laser off the bat. And it was the only run surrendered. The Tigers had a shot. McGonigal had a leadoff triple one inning, and they couldn't score him because there was a line drive and a double play where he got doubled up on third.
Right.
And Zach Gallen outduels him.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you why we talked earlier about why, wins and losses really aren't a premier stat for Cy Young. I mean, you're going to take everything away from Tarik Skubal because he got a loss. Dude gave up 1 run. He shoved. But Zach Gallen just threw the ball a little bit better. And then you got Paul Skeens, threw the ball much better this time out. He went much deeper in the game. His first time out, he only went 2/3 of an inning. He threw the ball pretty well. And then there was one more, maybe the best start of any starting pitcher so far, Max Fried, playing for the Yankees, playing the Seattle Mariners. He went, I think, 7 shutout. He has yet to give up a run, 13 shutout innings, and he's 2-0 to start the season.
Yeah, Max Fried definitely can be someone that makes the Cy Young race in the AL a much tighter logjam than last year. Last year you had your, Hunter Brown, Crochet, and the eventual winner in Tarik Skubal. But to me, I can see 5 or 6 guys legitimately fighting for, and you'll have at the end of the year, you'll have storylines that say, you know what, this guy got robbed, this guy got snubbed, because I think there's going to be a lot of guys dueling for that final spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a good summer. There's going to be a lot of good pitchers. There's going to be a lot of home runs, and we're going to be here to discuss as many of them as we can.
That's right. And we want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. This has been a great show. We want to make sure that you subscribe to the Locked On MLB channel. We want you to become a part of the Everydayer, join the Everydayer Club. Come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about more pitching matchups on the mound. We're going to look at those in the division, where people are, if we see them staying there for very long. what trends are happening. And if you never miss an episode, that the Everydayer Club is built for you, just go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and check that out. And then also make sure you make your first listen. After you watch this, we want you to go to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel, and on audio for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB. And you know what? Another show, another day, more strikeouts, shorter batters, and a lot of baseball still to play. So for myself and everybody here back to the Bullpen, I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. We are out.
Adios.